The day began bright and sunny, perfect for the teenagers' much-anticipated charity car wash. Excitement bubbled among the group as they gathered at the school parking lot, armed with sponges, buckets, and a vibrant banner announcing their efforts to raise money for their sports team. Each teenager was responsible for different tasks. Some set up a table to collect donations while others prepared sponges and soap for washing cars. They painted on big smiles and waved enthusiastically at passing cars, inviting drivers to stop in for a clean vehicle and a chance to support their team. Laughter filled the air as they joked about how many cars they could wash in one day. It didn't take long before a line of cars formed, with friends and family responding to their call for support. As they worked together, teamwork shone brightly. They cheered each other on as they scrubbed away dirt and grime from parked vehicles, creating a friendly competition to see who could get the shiniest car. The teenagers felt proud, imagining how their hard work could help fund new uniforms and equipment for their upcoming season. Each splash of water carried not only soap but also enthusiasm, the silent hope that this event would bring them closer together as a team. Little did they know that not everyone shared their excitement. Nearby, Karen watched disapprovingly, ready to challenge their cheerful effort and disrupt the fun that was just beginning. The school parking lot was bustling with energy, surrounded by tall trees that swayed gently in the warm breeze. The sun shone brightly overhead, casting a golden glow that made the water glisten as it splashed from the buckets and sponges. Colorful posters decorated the area, drawing attention from passers-by and adding to the festive atmosphere. As cars pulled in, friends and family members gathered around to cheer on the hardworking teenagers. Parents took pictures, capturing smiles and laughter as their kids scrubbed away dirt from vehicles. Some brought snacks and drinks to keep everyone energized, while others joined in, offering an extra pair of hands to help. The community's support was evident. Neighbors waved and honked their horns in encouragement as they drove by, making the teenagers feel important and valued. The car wash became a lively hub of activity, filled with chatter and laughter. The teenagers shared jokes and playful competition about who could wash the most cars or make them shine brighter. It felt like a mini celebration of teamwork and friendship, strengthening their bonds as they worked for a common goal. However, amidst the joy, Karen stood at a distance with her arms crossed, watching disapprovingly. The cheerful spirit of the event contrasted sharply with her sour expression, hinting at the conflict that was about to unfold as she prepared to take action against their fun-filled day. Karen, a devoted member of the Homeowners Association, was known in the neighborhood for her strict adherence to rules and regulations. As she stood by her front yard, she caught sight of the teenagers splashing water and laughing together at the car wash. Initially, her brow furrowed in concern as she began to voice her concerns about their use of water. With her arms crossed and a frown forming on her face, Karen believed that the cheerful event was not only a disruption but a potential violation of community guidelines. As she observed the group from her porch, Karen whispered to herself about unsanctioned water use, shaking her head disapprovingly. She had always been the type to uphold rules, believing that they kept order in the community. This charity event, in her eyes, was reckless, a misuse of resources that could lead to problems for everyone involved. Determined to take action, Karen marched back into her house and picked up her phone. She dialed the HOA hotline, ready to voice her complaints about what she considered an unwanted mess. Little did she realize that her interference would quickly put an end to the teenagers' fun-filled day. The sound of laughter and teamwork faded as she prepared to rain on their parade with a call that would change everything. As the laughter and splashes continued, Karen's frustration reached a boiling point. Standing on her porch with her phone in hand, she could no longer ignore the cheerful chaos happening just across the street. Her mind raced with thoughts of regulations and what she considered proper water use. With a deep breath, she tapped the number for the HOA hotline into her phone, determined to take action. While the teenagers were busy drying off another car, one of them shouted out, "This is so much fun. We're almost halfway to our goal." Their voices were filled with excitement as they high-fived each other, unaware of the storm brewing nearby. The clamor of happiness contrasted sharply with Karen's growing discontent. As she spoke to the HOA representative, her voice trembled slightly with agitation. "They're using too much water for this charity event without permission," she snapped, emphasizing every word. The representative tried to reason with her about community support for local initiatives, but Karen was not interested in hearing it. She pressed on about how such unsanctioned activities could lead to waste and community issues. The more she talked, the more tense the atmosphere grew for the teenagers. They had been feeling proud of their efforts, but now an invisible weight seemed to silence their joyful chatter. Moments later, as she hung up and stepped back outside, a look of satisfaction crossed Karen's face. She believed that soon enough, the carefree laughter would be replaced by disappointment as the HOA responded to her complaints and shut down their event. The mood shifted dramatically when the HOA representative arrived at the scene, responding to Karen's complaint. As the teenagers washed their last few cars, laughter filled the parking lot, but it quickly faded when they noticed the serious expressions on the faces of the HOA members. The adults approached the group, and one of them raised a hand to call for attention. "Everyone," the HOA representative began, "we have received a complaint about unsanctioned water use during this charity event." Gasps echoed through the crowd of teenagers as they exchanged worried glances. They had believed that their good intentions would be supported by the community. Instead, they felt a wave of disappointment wash over them. The representative continued, "Unfortunately, we cannot allow this car wash to continue. We must uphold community regulations." Murmurs of disbelief spread among the teens as they processed the news. They had worked hard to organize this event, filled with hopes of raising money for their sports team, and now it was abruptly coming to an end. Despite their disappointment, some of the teenagers rallied together. Whispering words of encouragement, they reminded each other of their purpose and how much they had already achieved that day. "We can try again next weekend," one shouted, rekindling a flicker of hope amid their frustration. While they were saddened by this unexpected turn, determination ignited within them to regroup and find another way to support their team in the future. The following weekend arrived with a bright blue sky, and while the teenagers were busy planning their next charity car wash, an unexpected twist took place in the neighborhood. As Karen drove through her quiet streets, she had her convertible top down, enjoying the warm weather. Little did she know, a neighbor across the street had devised a clever plan to lighten the mood in response to the events of last week. With a mischievous grin, they adjusted their sprinkler heads so that they would spray directly onto the street instead of watering their lawn. The neighbors chuckled at their little prank, eagerly looking out for Karen's arrival. As she turned the corner, her eyes widened when she saw glistening water streams shooting into the air. The moment she approached, the sprinklers released a refreshing mist right onto the road, drenching anything within range, including Karen's sleek convertible. Water droplets sparkled in the sunlight as they hit her hair and face, transforming her pleasant drive into an unexpected shower. She gasped in disbelief and shouted for them to stop wasting water. Karen quickly pulled over to file yet another complaint with the HOA about this illegal use of water. When she reached out to report it, however, she was met with an explanation that left her fuming. "Watering lawns and turning sprinklers is perfectly legal." Frustration bubbled inside her as she realized this would only add fuel to the rivalry between her and the spirited teenagers trying to make a difference. As Karen rounded the corner, she felt a sense of satisfaction, relishing the warm breeze on her face as she drove her convertible. But in an instant, her moment of bliss turned into chaos. The sprinklers erupted with a sudden whoosh, sending jets of water cascading directly onto the street. Karen gasped as the refreshing mist drenched her, catching her completely off guard. Water droplets splattered against her car, soaking her hair and making her perfectly styled look fall apart in an instant. With wide eyes and mouth agape, she shouted, "What on earth?" The neighbors who had set up the prank couldn't help but burst into laughter at the sight of Karen, a usually stern figure, now looking like she had just emerged from a swimming pool. Her frustration was palpable as she wiped water from her face and glared at the group of giggling neighbors. "You can't just waste water like this," she hollered, though her words were somewhat drowned out by their laughter. It was a comical contrast to her usual demeanor that left them all chuckling. Trying to regain her composure, Karen pulled over to the curb with dripping wet hair and an expression that combined disbelief and irritation. She grumbled to herself about how this incident would surely cause more trouble and wasted no time calling the HOA again. Yet deep down, even she had to admit that the sight of her splashing through the unexpected downpour was both ridiculous and oddly humorous, a moment that would surely become neighborhood gossip. Still dripping from her unexpected shower, Karen stormed into her house, her mind racing with thoughts of how to address this latest incident. She felt humiliated and furious, convinced that the neighbors' antics were a deliberate attack on her efforts to maintain community standards. Sitting down at her desk, she quickly picked up her phone, ready to file another complaint with the HOA. As the phone rang, she replayed the scene in her mind, the laughter, the water spraying everywhere, and her own disheveled appearance. Each thought only added fuel to her frustration. When the HOA representative answered, Karen wasted no time. "I need to report a serious issue," she began, her voice sharp with annoyance. "Someone is wasting water by spraying it all over the street instead of using it for their lawn. This is unacceptable." The representative listened patiently as Karen vented about the reckless behavior of her neighbors and how it contradicted community values. She ranted about how they clearly didn't care about conserving resources and how such wastefulness should not be tolerated. However, much to Karen's dismay, the representative calmly explained that watering lawns was indeed legal and that turning sprinklers toward the street didn't violate any rules. Feeling defeated but still determined, Karen replied with frustration, "But this is just not right. Someone has to do something about it." The call ended with Karen feeling even more agitated than before. She realized that instead of silencing the laughter around her, she might have just fueled it further. Karen sat at her kitchen table, fuming over the phone conversation she had just had with the HOA. Her frustration bubbled inside her as she replayed the representative's calm response in her mind. "Watering lawns is perfectly legal," they had said, their tone unyielding. It felt like a slap in the face, a blatant dismissal of her complaints about what she saw as blatant wastefulness. She glanced out her window toward the neighborhood, where laughter and light-hearted chatter filled the air. The very people she had been trying to stand up to were now enjoying their day, free from any concern about rules or regulations. Unable to contain herself, she muttered, "How can they just waste water like that?" Her mind twisted with irony. Her previous complaint against the charity car wash was supposed to uphold community standards, yet here she was, on the other side of the situation. The very rules she championed seemed to work against her now. It dawned on her that instead of being taken seriously, she had become the object of humor in this ongoing feud. With a heavy sigh, Karen pushed herself away from the table and stood up. While part of her longed to challenge the neighborhood antics again, another part acknowledged that these playful disputes only made her more isolated. As she retreated from the window, another wave of laughter resonated outside. In that moment, Karen realized that despite her best efforts, she had not only lost this battle but perhaps the spirit of community she was trying so hard to protect. As Karen stepped away from the window, she took a deep breath and reflected on the events of the past few weeks. She realized that her attempts to impose strict rules had led to a disconnect between her and the community. The laughter and camaraderie among the teenagers at the charity car wash were genuine expressions of community spirit, something she had lost sight of in her quest for order. She began to reconsider the importance of local initiatives like the car wash, which not only brought people together but also fostered support for their school sports team. Maybe it was time to let go of her rigid stance and find a way to connect with the youthful energy around her. As she thought about it, Karen imagined how she might join forces with the teenagers in the future instead of opposing them. Perhaps she could help organize events that balanced fun with responsibility. At that moment, a group of laughing teenagers passed by her house, still buzzing with excitement from their planning. Karen felt a twinge of regret for not embracing their enthusiasm rather than criticizing it. Maybe there was a chance for a fresh start, a way to support their efforts while still keeping community concerns in mind. The possibility of future interactions with them sparked a flicker of hope within her. Reflecting on this realization, Karen wondered if they might find common ground, leading to a stronger sense of unity in their neighborhood. Perhaps she too could become part of their story, rather than just an obstacle in their way.